Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to just do a little bit of reading. I just wanted to do something simple. I feel a little bit tired today. And I also wanted to thank everybody for your wonderful, kind comments and also your suggestions for the role play roulette. So I think I'll be able to get to that next week. So just wanted to do a little bit of a reading today. This is a book called Birds and Words, and it's all about different kinds of birds with drawings, illustrations. Excuse me. Let's find where it starts. The first chapter is 10 Western birds. The mountain quail, time bomb of the timeless Sierra. The mountain quail has a proximity fuse set for 3 feet. He explodes like a cubist painting of a mountain quail exploding, quickening the pulse, rocketing into the chaparral. For him, a cliché was coined. He went that way. Plumed like a drum major, he avoids parades, but dry cleans his uniform and freshens up by taking a dust bath. A family man, he believes in large ones, 15 more or less. This is the Western Tanager. Bright as a circus poster on a weather-beaten barn, the Western Tanager looks like a highly embarrassed goldfinch. No treetop Caruso, he sings for his own enjoyment, telling of far-flung solitudes and the carefree existence while his wife does the chores. When he visits your fruit orchard, remember that he eats mostly insects, Christmas tree ornaments in July, commemorates in color the autumn leaf, and is what you can say something is not as yellow as. This is the black-tailed magpie. Gay, braggartly, pilfering, the magpie is the Capone of the plains. He puts up a half-bushel, 2-door, reinforced mud ranch house and has the shortest of widowhoods, up to 24 hours. He goes formal to every meal, but he never bothers to read the menu, being no food snob. From him come the tenderest of filial utterances, but his loud mouth yakety-yak in a crowd of male companions is unprintable. He imitates humans. At least he learns to talk like one. This is the green jay. When a stranger comes to town, the green jay quickly rounds up a posse to investigate him. Impudent but intelligent, lovely but larcenous, he is loved and loathed, welcome and rejected. Who's he with, the good guys or the bad guys? It depends on your point of view. If you're a law-abiding citizen whose nest has been looted, you'll arouse the vigilantes and run him out of town. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, his wife is destroying insect pests. This is the spotted towhee. Hail to the clothes horse of the underbrush haberdashery. The spotted towhee dresses for a ball, but loses his nerve and stays home. Anyway, he'd rather scrounge under sticks and stones for slugs and bugs. He's the bird with the worm's eye view. Shy, self-conscious, stealthy, this undercover agent always has the drop on you. Ecstasy seizes him occasionally, driving him to drop a syllable from an aspen limb. His answer to all questions is, yep. This is the gray-crowned rosy finch. When the rosy finch remarked, "Zio," as he often does, he has just looked at his thermometer. Admiral bird of the birds, he long ago investigated above timberline opportunities for enterprising finches, found the fierce white world of the eternal snow irresistible. Some call him loco, but consider for a moment his assets: independence, living room with a view, Mother Nature's food plan to keep his deep freeze bulging. And we have the mountain bluebird, turquoise, azure, cerulean. What word does justice to his blue? An ounce of western sky fallen to the earth? Like all conscientious bluebirds, he dispels gloom, heralds the good life, and promises the brave new world. Door-to-door salesman of do-it-yourself contentment and tourist at heart, he peddles his happiness from the Cascades to the Sierra Nevadas, Cottonwood Grove to Timberline, Moose Jaw to Eagle Pass, all over his own backyard. Scissor-tailed flycatcher. Vanity, thy name might well be scissor-tailed flycatcher. His flight a poem, his train a June bride's dream, his choreography the envy of ballerinas. He is the Texas bird of paradise. High praise indeed for any bird this side of it. But he is more interested in law enforcement than looks, and he elects himself sheriff of the county. He catches more grasshoppers than flies, but who wants to be called a scissor-tailed grasshopper catcher? Cactus wren. When a 6-year-old tourist asks, "What for is a cactus?" this wren is your answer. He lives in it. He also lives in the Sisyphus bush. A homebody with a passion for real estate, he builds several nests, repairs them constantly, installs wall-to-wall feather beds, and burglar-proofs them with stilettos, ice picks, and bayonets. His chut-chut-chut is a splash of color on a Dali landscape. Having lived here all his life, he knows a secret way through the paths. Burrowing owl. One of nature's drollest creatures, the burrowing owl spends each day in pantomiming "How do you do?" to family, friends, and passers-by, and in eating his weight in things you wouldn't eat your weight in, nor even his. More at home under the range than on it, he knows it's cheaper to board than to build, even if people suspect that you have rattlesnakes. So he redecorates an old gopher hole. You will probably twist his head off if you walk around him enough times. America's vanishing birds. There's the great auk. The great auk swam like a fish, walked like a penguin, and flew like a stone. But he adapted happily to ocean life, prospering from Iceland to Florida, while heading the menu of North Atlantic islanders for 300 years. Then the professional hunters invaded his nurseries. The last of the great auks was killed in 1844. Carolina parakeet. Once abundant in the southeastern coastal states, the Carolina parakeet occasionally flashed his tropical colors in the winter-worn north. He was fond of fruits and seeds, a safe diet until man planted orchards and grain fields. After that, the parakeet spent his days, which ended in 1904, as a highly visible target. I think I'll skip this section because it's too sad to read about the birds that So some of them are not gone, but they are threatened. I think I will skip to the 10 southern birds. Swallow-tailed kite. Countdown starts at dawn for the swallow-tailed kite, America's most graceful flyer. Orbiting over the marshland, he keeps close tabs on the comings and goings of snakes, lizards, and frogs. Occasionally, he plucks a newly hatched alligator from this planet. He is wise to spend most of his life in space, because Earthmen usually greet him as they might a visitor from Mars. Shoot first, ask questions later. Painted bunting. The painted bunting is in advertising, direct mail advertising, that is. While his conservative spouse remains in the background, he is busy in the garden, hedgerow, and thicket, proclaiming himself in glorious technicolor and singing commercial, "Pueta, Pueta." Quick to anger and mighty in combat, he will fight to the finish for home, mate, and the joy of conquest. It's the flamingo. One of the millions of flamingos in America today. Of the millions of flamingos, only a handful are still alive. The rest are front lawn effigies, proclaiming to all passers-by our national love for beauty. Countless businesses commemorate the name, too. 61 in Miami alone, including the Flamingo Canine Beauty Shop. Never a native of our shores, he visits them only rarely today, a prudent precaution since his forefathers were killed by beauty lovers of an earlier generation. Purple gallinule. The purple gallinule is the poor man's peacock, the pavlova of the pond, one of our most exquisite water birds in costume and choreography. He animates marshes and roadside ditches all over Dixie. Hitty, 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 hit up, hit up, hit up. he comments as he closes in on his dinner, using lily pads as stepping stones. When he's in a hurry, though, he flies. But he apparently places little faith in air travel, as he never retracts his landing gear. Water turkey. The water turkey lunches and launders at the same time, then returns to his favorite perch and hangs his wings out to dry. Somber and silent, resembling a cormorant, and looking not a bit like a turkey, he haunts the Cypress lagoon like a ghost in a gloomy castle. Is he bird or reptile? He flies like a bird, but swims like a snake, with only his head above water. It is easy to imagine that he consorts with the dinosaurs in some yet-to-be-discovered expanse of steaming prehistoric jungle. Mockingbird. Some birds have all the talent. Take the mockingbird, for example. Mimic, composer, arranger, vocalist, clown, he still finds time to devote to his family. Like many another life of the party, he gets his kicks by recording everything that happens and playing it back for all to hear, hi-fi and unedited. Thus, his Moonlight Sonata is likely to be punctuated by variations on a theme from A Power Mower and Mrs. Catbird's conversation with Mr. Wren. Snowy Egret. The snowy egret wears a silky white wedding gown with a long lace train and pledges his troth with a twig. She does too, and it's a double twig ceremony. But who can tell the bride from the groom? They can, and a few weeks later they're taking turns at babysitting, keeping their love alive by swapping twigs at nest relief. The Snowies' recovery is one of our country's happiest examples of conservation action. The wood ibis. The wood ibis is our only native stork, but he does not, as you might suppose, hang around obstetricians' offices. He hangs around swamps instead, where, from his cypress maternity ward, arises a cacophonous chorus of grunts, croaks, and squeals, suggesting that he is too busy with his own domestic difficulties to run a delivery service on the side. Sometimes, just to get away from it all, he rides a thermal to dizzy heights. He can also fly upside down. Limpkin. Because he walks with a slight limp, the limpkin is called the limpkin. This does not mean that he is crippled, however. All limpkins limp. But for some reason he is not satisfied with his lot in life, so he broadcasts his wail of woe to the marsh world in the still of the night. This has earned him a reputation as the crying bird. He is also a noted gourmet. A pile of empty apple shells identifies his favorite dining out spot. And this is American Bird Architects section. Baltimore Oriole. Of all bird architects, the Baltimore Oriole seems most aware that form follows function and that bird nests are for birds. Her classic pendulous nest is formed with sensitive engineering and flawless weaving. It's the nest of the year, year after year. On a warp of flexible bark fibers attached to the tips of high branches, she looms a bag of grass, horsehair, and string. When the wind blows, the cradle does rock. Bank swallow. Dig this crazy architecture. Bank swallows nest in cooperative apartments with sieve-like facades, excavated with beak and claw in the clay or sand of riverbanks, gravel pits, highway cuts, and sawdust heaps. At the end of a 2 to 4 foot hallway, they place the family room, wall to wall with feathers and grass. Utilities? They eat, drink, and bathe on the wing. But how do they know which hole to come home to? Ruby-throated hummingbird. Hummers can fly backward, vertically, and pause in mid-air. This is handy when you do your house building in a tree. Mr. Ruby-throat checks out after the honeymoon, and something tells Mrs. to start building the tiny, attached saddle nest, glued by salivary secretions to a down-sloping branch. It's made of plant down, lichens, and silk, borrowed from a neighboring spider. Barn swallow. No barn is complete without barn swallows. Commuting jet-like from hayloft suburbia to work in the meadow, they distribute good cheer in the barnyard and bad news to flying insects. Expert masons, they mix mud and straw for their pendant, cup-shaped nests, stuck to upright timbers and lined with feathers from local leghorns. Long ago they deserted the caves. Now no barn swallow is complete without a barn. House wren. If house wrens were people, they would probably remodel old farmhouses. But they're not, so they remodel other things like old shoes, tin cans, cows' skulls, and clothespin bags using twigs, grass, feathers, and bark. He stakes off the lot and fills some holes with sticks. She decides which one they'll call home, throws out all his furniture, and starts from scratch. Maybe house wrens are people. Rose-breasted grosbeak. For all his rakish good looks, the daddy rose-breasted is the very model of the family man. He helps assemble the platform-standing nest of twigs, stems, grass, and rootlets, then cheerfully relieves his drab little mate on the nest, humming a housewifely tune as he incubates. To the kids, he is hero and pal. He seldom returns from a trip without some thoughtful little remembrance, such as a potato bug. Indigo bunting. The indigo bunting is the proud papa. As soon as the nest is built, a compact cup of grass and leaves, attached, standing in the upright part of a shrub, He starts proclaiming the blessed event from the treetops. He has even been known to take a turn on the eggs. His mate, whatever did he see in her? Dull and anonymous, she'd never be noticed in a crowd of sparrows. But he is faithful to the end of the summer. The horned grebe. The horned grebe summers on the lake, where she builds a floating platform of mud and porous, air-filled vegetation, docks it like a shanty boat among the reeds, and deposits 3 to 7 eggs. They are never dry, but their chalky shells exclude moisture, and the decaying nest probably generates heat to help them hatch. The chicks are natural-born swimmers, but they shouldn't go near the shore until they learn to walk.